From knocking out Tony Ferguson with a beautiful front kick to the face to engaging in an absolute war with Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler has definitely given us some interesting fights over the years. But now Islam Makhachev is accusing him of throwing his fights. You heard it right, guys. The champ, while talking to BT Sport, revealed how Iron Mike landed the fight against Conor McGregor. According to him, the former Bellator champion deliberately threw a couple of fights to get that spot. The Dagestani believes that if Chandler won his fights, then he'd never get inside the octagon against the Notorious. If Iron Mike had managed to clinch a couple of victories against the likes of the Diamond or Justin Gaethje, then he'd have to fight for the title, and that would mean he could say goodbye to any big money fight against Conor. Why? Well, because Conor hasn't exactly been winning either, and he's been out of action for a couple of years now, so it wouldn't make any sense for UFC or Dana White to put these down on the same card, no matter how much the boss favors them. But that's not all. Islam also thinks Chandler's fighting style was a little sus. The lightweight king said that in all of his fights, Iron Mike fought like crazy, like he comes from the street, which I've got to admit is kind of true. I mean, Chandler is a showman and all, but there's a difference between a cold, calculated pro MMA fighter and a street fighter, and I can see where Islam is going with this. Now, I'm not saying that Iron Mike threw his fights, but he did everything he could to grab Conor's attention.
And they give this title shot to someone else. I got one dude on my mind. Conor McGregor, you gotta come back and fight somebody. I am the most entertaining lightweight on the planet.
Conor initially didn't give it much thought, and he only promised Chandler a fight because he retired. In the end, he folded and agreed to it. And you know how both of these guys ended up as coaches for the 31st season of The Ultimate Fighter. But why is Makhachev saying all this? Does he want to fight against McGregor himself? I honestly doubt it, guys. The lightweight champ was probably just joking around when he said all of that. Low-key, he's a really funny guy, and most people usually don't get his humor. About the Conor thing, he doesn't really sound excited by that idea. According to him, the Irishman doesn't deserve a title shot, maybe after he beats Chandler and a couple of other guys. But Islam isn't saying no to a big money fight. In fact, he's all up for it if the UFC wants to make that fight. Who's ever gonna say no to more money, right? He's more interested in fighting a real contender, though. The lightweight king has told Dana again and again that he's always ready for a fight, and he's just a phone call away. Beneil Dariush, Charles Oliveira rematch, maybe even Dustin Poirier. The champ is up for anything at all, but he wouldn't miss a chance to throw some shade on Michael Chandler. I mean, the guy has doubted the champ at every turn. Back when Islam was slated to face Du Bronx for the title, Iron Mike predicted Oliveira to win, and you all know how that turned out to be. He submitted the best finisher in the history of UFC with an arm triangle. That wasn't all, though. Chandler even favored Alexander Volkanovski at the battle in Perth, and he was wrong once again. Sure, that match was way too close than anyone ever predicted, but securing a unanimous win over the featherweight champ's own backyard was another notch in Islam's belt. Since then, Iron Mike has seen the error of his ways, and he's even admitted that he was wrong to doubt the Dagestani machine. He praised Makhachev for winning and defending the title, but he still thinks that he has a good enough chance against Khabib's protege. The plan for him now is to go out there and beat Conor. Then he hopes to land a title fight against Islam, which is a long shot to say the least. Sure, Chandler's a very exciting fighter. He's never given fans a boring fight, and there is a reason why Uncle Dana seems to favor him so much. He goes out there and he performs his heart out, but his record hasn't exactly been immaculate. He's lost 3 out of his 5 bouts in the UFC, securing wins over the likes of Dan Hooker and Tony Ferguson.
But honestly, that was a
But at the same time, he fell short against Oliveira, Gaethje, and Poirier.
Oh, Dustin now. Oh, he's getting taken as well. Oh, he's got it. He's in time. Oh, that's a
Dustin Poirier submits Michael Chandler in round 3.
Now I know these 3 guys are some of the best in the world at lightweight, but to have any chance against the likes of Islam, Iron Mike should have at least won a couple of them, and beating Conor doesn't really prove anything, cause the Irish mad lad hasn't been impressive for some years now. He's lost 3 of his last 4 fights too. After Khabib ragdolled him, I expected him to make a strong comeback. Sadly, that wasn't the case. He might have won against Donald Cerrone, but let's be real, guys. The Cowboy was already on his way out, and he was too old to be fighting anyway. After that, it was the Poirier show, as the Diamond clinched back-to-back convincing wins over his old rival. Conor didn't seem that much into the fights anyway. Make no mistake, I think the Notorious is still a very dangerous fighter, but he didn't look nearly as sharp as he once was.
Look at that uppercut. Now, Marcus over the top, looking to finish it here. Conor McGregor, another first-round win. Wow! Ultra-impressive UFC debut!
And that injury didn't really do him any favors either. I mean, it was terrible what happened to his leg. Being sidelined for almost 2 years meant that he'd have the time to recover and rethink his strategy when he finally comes back. But that doesn't seem to be the case. I know that we can't be certain until we actually see him in action, but the man has put on so much weight that I doubt he'll ever compete in the lightweight division ever again. And welterweight and middleweight are just another story. I mean, he was most successful at featherweight.
Far enough away from danger as he starts teeing off.
Grandal looks hurt. Grandal looks hurt. This could be the end.
Big left.
This could be an early stoppage. Another first round for McGregor. This could be it.
That is it. It is all over. Conor McGregor.
Ever since he moved up to 155 pounds, he has just been a shadow of his former self. Islam is convinced that Conor doesn't even want to fight anymore. While talking in an interview at Weighing In, the lightweight king said that the McGregor vs. Chandler fight isn't official yet. He also added that the Irishman isn't really serious about competing any longer. He's drinking too much, smoking all day, and he hasn't fought in a very long time. But Makhachev thinks that if the fight goes through, then the fans will see Conor at 170 pounds. If he wins, the UFC will push him to make 155 so that they can give him a title shot. This would have been another case of Islam's dry humor, but as the days go by, it seems there's more truth to it than I initially thought, because even Conor admitted that there are hurdles in his return. The Notorious was talking to Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour when he said so, but he quickly also added that he's in constant touch with the promotion and they're trying to sort everything out. That might be all good, but the thing is that Conor still hasn't entered USADA's testing pool. By their regulation, he has to be enrolled in it for at least 6 months, and he has to pass at least 2 tests before he can even compete. So things aren't looking too good for McGregor fans right now. That, paired with the fact that he recently sent out some really blistering tweets against the USADA, this means that his return could be delayed even more. Chandler ideally wanted this fight to happen in August or September, but I don't really see it happening this year at all. That's been all about Islam's claim on Chandler throwing his fights to land against McGregor.